Alright, how's it going, everybody? This is not the first video I've made on this bike. I've done a couple other ones, but this is my 05 Gsxr 600. If you haven't seen the other videos, feel free to hop over there. I did the fork seal replacements and how to take off the front tire and put it back on. Now, this video is going to be on spark plugs and oil and filter. So we're doing a little bit of service, a little bit of that maintenance action. Okay. These are the spark plugs we went with. It's NGK. Here's the part number. It's a CR9EK. I think this is a newer plug. There's also a couple different hot, neutral, and cold plugs you can use for this. I think this is a modified cold plug that I'm going to be throwing back in here. But yeah, I'll try to put that stuff up there too. I got it, a manual I'm going over. Alright, so first things first, you got two 10 millimeter bolts. One on this side, one on the exact opposite side. You'll take those loose, and this seat should pull up and directly out. And then you can see why you have to. There are those little tabs that fold up under here, so the back of the seat won't lift up like this while you're riding around. Okay, so once you take that off, we'll go ahead and take the tank off. I'll have to use both my hands for this, but there's two 10 mils here in the front, one here and here. If you're like me and you have a phone holder, go ahead and take that off and out of the way so it's not in the way or you don't break it when you take it off there. And also back here, there is a through bolt right here. Mine's actually an Allen head, you can see down in there. And it just goes from this side all the way over. There's not a nut on the back side, it just screws out of this little housing there. And then to get that out, I had to use an Allen wrench because I didn't have like a long pick or anything. I ran it through this side, pushed the bolt out all the way over here. But look at the pop hole down. And once you get this through bolt out and out of the way, this whole back piece you should be able to lift right up out of the way. You can move that up and then out this way. I'd love to do this, but I don't have anything to hold my phone. So just grab the back, lift it up, use your other hand, push it out this way, and then you can there's a couple other things under here. I'll move the tank out of the way and I'll show you what you have to unplug, and I'll show you where it is down here. It's not that hard. What you can do before you take this off is lift this tank up. There's a wire and a hose under there that connects to the fuel pump. You pop those off, and then you'll have some more tubes down here in the back, and I think that's it. All right, and here's what it's supposed to look like once you get the tank off and out of the way. Now, a couple things to note. You're gonna have to take off this main fuel line that goes from the pump to the fuel rail and the injectors. It's not that big of a deal. There's a little plastic deal that you'll push the tabs in and slide this up and out of the way. Don't lose the plastic clip, you're gonna need it. Here's the 3-prong pigtail that also connects to the fuel pump. And then you're gonna have the 2 hoses that drape out the back for like a vent line. And here, I'll show you what that looks like on the tank. Here's your 2 vents. I'm just assuming that one's a vent and one's like an overflow maybe. I'm not really sure. But here's the 3-prong hookup right here. This is the fuel pump, and then here is that little plastic connector. It'll go so far on to where it hits this little metal lip, and then it'll click on. So make sure you don't lose that or you'll have to buy another one. That should be the only thing under this tank that you need. There's no other hookups. You can see under there, there's really not a lot going on. So that's all you need. Let's not bend my tabs on the bed. That'd be nice. Now, once your bike looks like this, you're probably going to have an air box just like mine. Okay, yours could be a little different depending on the year, but every single one of my screw holes for this air intake box is, I would assume, broken. And I've never been in this, so it wasn't me. Don't blame me, for God's sakes. Okay, but all the screws were here, but all of them were loose. So once you take this top housing off, there's going to be, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 screws and 1 bolt holding the rest of this in. This is also your intake or your breather or your filter or whatever you want to call it. If you want to change that, you can. Mine doesn't look too bad. I'm not going to worry about it. Once you take off all the screws and that bolt right there, which is a 10 mil, and all these on mine were a Phillips head, so the star or the plus pattern, you're gonna have to come under here And these are actually attached to the top of your intake. I'm assuming this is a throttle body because it's fuel injected. Every one of these is supposed to have a screw. And when I flip this over, when I say supposed to, you'll understand. This one does, doesn't, does not, does, okay? And you can see it over there. That's another couple things you're gonna have to worry about taking off, getting a screwdriver in there. Hope like hell they're not turned where it's real hard to get to. Or if, in my case, there could be only two. So, you'll have to take those off, and yet again, this will be setting just like so. You'll have a line right here that plugs in on this little black dill. I'm assuming this is like a air sensor or something, or a vacuum sensor that hooks down in here to a T. You can see it right there, and then they separate. You have, get over here. There's a tree growing right here if you didn't know. You have another connector. Where did I put the thing? I routed it yesterday so it wouldn't be gone. You have one here and another one right here. So if you look under here, you can see one plugs in here, the other one plugs in there. They are both, nope, they're different. This is a 3-prong. That 3-prong plugs into this here. It's an air vacuum sensor, something of the sort. This is a 2-prong pigtail that will plug in right here, which maybe is some sort of sensor, air intake sensor. I'm not really sure. It's something heat related. Now, once you get all this out of the way, keep all your screws and all that stuff where you need it. Just don't forget them. Yours will look just like, could kind of sort of not really look like mine because I already took it apart. Each one of these, count them 4, is a coil. Sits down in a hole right on top of your spark plug, and that's what sends the electrode power to make an arc, which in turn causes combustion as long as there's fuel. Each one of these has a pigtail here, 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 and here. It doesn't really matter where you put these in the hole, as long as there's one in the hole, you know what I mean? Unless one's dead, you can try to check that way, but we're not worried about that right now. Anyways, you'll pop the pigtails off, and once you have the pigtails off, by pushing in this little tab right here, you'll push it in and pull it straight out. You can just grab a hold. They make a tool for it. I just grabbed a hold of mine and pulled the coil straight out of the hole. It wasn't really that hard. Make sure you don't lose these little rubber protectors around it. Yesterday I had one that fell down in that hole, I think, and I had to fish it out of there. So just be aware of that. It's probably not too common. Now, anyways, let's get over here, story time with the spark plugs for a second. Okay, I'm pretty sure I already went over which ones that I got, and I've already showed you guys the manual of what they said, but here's mine. I'll set them out so you can kind of see them all. They were burning, you know, pretty decent. They were just a little old, and by a little I mean a lot. But you can see right here, all of them have a nice like color. They're not like super burnt. It looks like they're burning pretty clean. Anyways, let me show you the newer one. It's a bit different. This is an upgraded one. This is a Gsxr I'm not really sure what the K stands for, but it has 2 little metal prongs on the side for the electrode to hit, whereas the old CR9E just had the singular. And yeah, these you could probably gap however you want. You could cut those down if you wanted to customize it or whatever. These you can't really gap with the normal gapping tool that I have. But yeah, that's really all I got for these. You guys have seen the specifications and stuff like that. So I hope this helps. We're going to get to putting all this stuff back in here. Another way to know that these are pretty old is there's rust on the... oh man, I just figured the name. What was I thinking? What is this stuff called? Well, come on, what is that called? It's glass. Porcelain. There it is. Good lord. There's a bunch of rust around this porcelain here. You can just tell it's old because it's rusting out like inside in between these threads here and the porcelain, and back behind this like nut they got on it. But yeah, they've been in there for a while. It needs changed. So we'll get to it. Another thing you guys should probably look for when you're getting spark plugs, make sure that the length of the plug is relatively the same. You don't want one that sticks out longer and starts smashing the head of your piston or do anything crazy like that. So check that out. Make sure that the nut and everything's around the same size. For these, it's a 5/8 here. You'll just set it down on there, make sure it spins and everything like it's supposed to. Just a couple things. You just want to make sure that this plug looks about as similar as it possibly can to the one that you're changing, okay? Just want to throw that in there because sometimes people don't think about that. All right, we're going to take our ratchet extension in this socket here. It's a spark plug socket. You can tell because it has that little plastic black piece in the middle there that helps you hold on to the spark plug while you're putting it in or out. We're going to take that over there and some of the new plugs, pull out these Napacan dills, throw these in there. And the reason, if you're like me, you want to pull these out, take them to the parts store, and come back tomorrow, always put something in these so nothing falls down in there. It gets inside your chamber of secrets, okay? All right, before you just go throwing these in here, and a couple little honorable mentions I'd like to say. What I would really like to do, and I don't have any here, is they make this anti-seize that you can put on the threads here of all these spark plugs before you just run them down. Just so when they do rust like those up there, they don't freeze and get locked down in there and you have to take your motor apart and stuff. So if you can, go ahead and pick up some anti-seize. You can get it from any parts store. You don't have to get a big tub of it. You can just get a little bit. And go ahead and throw it on some of these threads before you throw it in there. Another thing I'd like to say is on this side, every other one of them, you can just go ahead and stick your socket and your extension right down in there. It's not that big of a deal. This one, you kind of can't, because the frame here, where that intake piece like kind of attaches to, there's nothing really there besides a little foam piece that's supposed to help close it off, which I think is stupid. But there's nothing that you can really do about moving that frame. And when you go to stick down the extension and socket, you can't really get it in there. It's just in the way, is what I'm trying to say. Now, if you have a swivel socket at the house, you can get away with it, I bet, by just throwing a swivel on there and getting it all sorts of weird wonkus down in there. But what I'm going to do is take this spark plug, drop it down in there, and chase it by dropping this down in there too. And then once that's dropped down in there, and so is the spark plug, you take off the extension here, throw it down in there, get it lined up with this socket here, push it down together, and then you throw your ratchet on there and you're good to go, okay? And in reverse, same thing. One by one, get your little magnet, pull the stuff out, whatever you gotta do. Alright, just get it done, that's all I'm saying. Alright, you can tell that I threw all the spark plugs in each hole. Now we're gonna drop down the socket here, take off our extension, and then we'll grab this bad mamma jamma, stuff it down there and kind of twist it until it clicks, and then boom, you're on it. You just start spinning till your heart is content, okay? Just wanted to show you guys that it worked, just so you can't call me a liar in the long run, okay? Okay, when you got all these pretty tight, just go back through, make sure they're all tight, you didn't miss one. I don't see why you would, but just to be on the safe side. Another thing, see that one was a little loose. Don't tighten these too much. You don't want to snap them off, cause yourself way more work. And when you get done with your socket and ratchet and everything, make sure your little rubber dill that's supposed to be in your socket here, you know, the one that I said earlier, make sure that little rubber plastic dilly-doo-dab in there is actually in there, not stuck on top of one of those spark plugs, because when you go to put those back in there, it'll cause you problems, and it won't run right if you don't pay attention. Also, it's a good tool. You don't want to, you know, not have it in there, because it won't work the next time, blah, blah, blah. A million reasons why not to. I'm just telling you, don't do it, okay? Alright, spark plugs are in. That is not the end of this lovely video. We're going to push every single one of these little coils back into place. You'll watch it pop in. That's how you know it's seated. You can kind of feel it, maybe hear it just a little bit. You'll know. You just kind of watch it. Make sure it pushes all the way down. You'll know when it's right. The last one here, and then we'll start plugging stuff back in. Here, see? That went in there like it's supposed to. Hook these pigtails back up like they're supposed to be. Make sure they lock. There you go. And some of these pigtails could be broken on yours. You never really know until you get in there and look. But what you're looking for is this little thumb tab right here could be broke off. This little triangular piece wedge deal could be broke on there. You never really know. But that's what we're looking for right there. See, this boot is kind of binding up in there. You just gotta make sure it sets in there right, because that one didn't click. So we're good here. We're all clicked up. And yeah, we're about to get ready to throw the breather back on. All right, here's how we're gonna be setting. You got your little intake holes that's coming off the front nose here. 4 little holes to tell you, hey, that's where the air is going. All right. We have a hose and some other things to hook up. We are good. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's also a hose here. So don't forget this one. It goes up underneath here to whatever that is. So we hook that up, pigtail, another pigtail down here, and another hose. And I'm pretty sure, yep, there is one more. There's another one here that I had bowed back that goes right there. You can tell where all that stuff is. See? A couple hoses, couple pigtails. Alright, once you got all these hoses hooked up, they're going to look just like that. It's pigtail, another hose, okay? You slide this over and down so it kind of falls into place. And then you line up these rubber boots down here. And then you just press them down. What I just noticed is when you're pushing this over, one of them tries to come in. You see this one right here? Watch it. See how that boot's doing that? Don't let it do that. Pick it up, move it around, press it in, cinch it up, you're good. And you know, obviously make sure these are lined up, but that's probably more of a suggestion because all this doesn't work anyways. Just kidding, it does. Just make sure you get it right. All right, we're all popped down into place. You can't push it any further down. It becomes a solid object, okay? So now once that's popped into place, you got everything hooked up. Come down here, tighten these little Phillips head bolts up all the way across. Here soon, I'm probably gonna get 2 new little clamps like this one for the middle, and we'll redo that. But yeah, once this is on, throw the filter back in and the top of the intake and all that stuff, and put the seat and everything back on, and down to the oil. Okay, so this faces up, this little metal screen. The little lip here sits down in that groove that they cut out for it. And once that's down, I'll take this here, lay over it like so, and then you'll start screwing everything back together, putting your bolt in, and yeah, we'll be back when I get done with that crap. All right, class, raise your hand if you're just like me and some buffoon came in here and over torqued every single one of these little screws here, tore out all your threads. Me, sir, me. Yep, just like, yep, there's what, yep, Don't worry, it's really not that big of a deal. You can run a bigger screw in it. It'll probably work. I'm just going to leave it the way it was. It didn't have any problems. We were missing one screw. Who cares? They're suggestions anyways. The real one that matters is this 10 mil. We're going to go ahead and tighten that bad mamma jam up if I can, you know, if I can afford it. If this would hurry up. But yeah, screw all the screws around the little air box and tighten this bolt up and you're good. We'll move on to the next part. Don't over torque it or you'll wind up like mine that's split because some monkey over torqued it. Alright, I won't exactly be able to show you guys this part because I'm going to need multiple hands. But we're going to take the tank, put it right here, put this bolt back in, and raise it up and leave it up. And it'll raise up so far. Yesterday, you can use anything, prop it up and stick, whatever you want. Hell, use your head if you got to. You know what I mean? What good is it? Anyways, we'll prop that thing up. Hook up a couple wires, make sure those other lines are running through that hole right there, and then we'll lower the tank down, pop those bolts back on the tank, and we'll get to the seat, so on and so forth. And then once you got it on, you can see these are the only things we got to look for is that main fuel line, which you can see in the middle of the screen there, and that pigtail, which you can also see down there, the white and the blue. And then you have the 2 hoses on the other side that we'll worry about later. Right now, I'm going to use both of my hands to hook this stuff up. Alright, when you go ahead and put either one of these on, they're going to click so you know that they're popped all the way in. You can see how that fuel line's setting in there now. Pops right over that plastic little piece that I told you not to lose. And you can see this pigtail here. It has a little deal on the other side though. You can see it, that it has to click in there. Anyways, just make sure they click in, and you should be good to go. We'll route those lines on the other side and on to the next. Okay, tank is cinched down back where it needs to be. The two 10 mils, that bolt there, rerouted the hose, all that stuff. We're going to put the seat on. It's really easy. Right before I do so, I want to show you guys the tools that you need for this. You're going to need a screwdriver, flathead preferably. Or I'm sorry, what am I saying? Phillips head preferably. Look at that, I'm a dummy. You're going to need a Allen wrench, the 13/16. I got mine on a socket bit. You're going to need a 10 mil, an extension, and you're also going to need a 5/8 socket for spark plugs. And that's it. That's everything you need. Also, I'm going to split these up. I know I said in the beginning of the video that I was not. We're going to go ahead and split these into two. So if you guys need a quick down and dirty of how to do your spark plugs, there it is. If you want to immediately know something about changing oil, there it is. So you don't have to watch a whole video about this, so you can learn about that. You know what I mean? So for everyone that didn't make it to the end, well, sorry about you, but they're going to be confused. So we'll make fun of them later. You know what I mean? Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to go ahead and throw the seat on here real quick. It's real simple. And yeah, that's it for this one. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Hope this helped you guys. See you on the next one.